Oh, hi there. God like we never left.
Back again, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back to episode 2 of the After the Opening Credits podcast. I'm one half of your host, Hugo the Boss. Hugo got next, joined by my illustrious co-host.
It's your boy, like always. It's Ray Boogie Kahuna. Like my brother mentioned, we're going to be discussing some spoilery details of the new James Gunn film, Superman.
But before we get into any of that, you already know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying the visual portion of this podcast, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you already know.
So, where do you want to attack this? Where do you want to start off when it comes to the spoilers?
Well, I guess we could start from the beginning. A lot of the trailers are like within the first 20 minutes of the movie.
That's true. They do a good job of usually when trailers come out, they give you the whole entire movie. DC and Warner Brothers, to their credit, didn't really spoil as much as I thought they were.
Yeah, 100%. And honestly, just having Mr. Terrific be such an integral part of the plot.
A way bigger part of the plot than I thought he was going to be.
Which I'm happy about. We're both happy about, actually, because he's probably the character that needed the most development. He's the character that needed the most investment so he could get fans invested in him.
Yeah, he's, like I mentioned in the spoiler-free version, he's the least known of the three Justice, they're not going to say Justice League yet because, they got to build up to that. So the Justice Gang, between Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, Terrific is definitely C tier in terms of popularity. So not only did he get a lot of character development, but he was, kind of crucial to a decent amount of this plot.
Yeah, and Mr. Terrific's direct involvement and how integral he was in directly saving Superman, which
100%
rose back to my brother's point in the spoiler-free talk about Superman's vulnerability, his willingness to ask for help, his willingness to accept help, and James's ideas and direction in terms of making Superman a votable character, and Mr. Terrific essentially helping Superman fight a war on two fronts, one in Bravia and one in preventing the destruction of Metropolis.
Yeah, James Gunn does this thing where he finds a good balance in not only making Superman look the most vulnerable I've ever seen him on film, but not afraid to ask for help. And I think that really lays the foundation in terms of what this universe is going to be, where Superman is not Homelander, or he's not Omni-Man, where he's like this omnipotent force, invulnerable, almost like a god. He doesn't come off as a god. He comes off as a guy who really cares for humanity, really has a lot of humility to him.
And a true Boy Scout.
Exactly.
I feel like some of these characters too, and this is one of the other things I had with the movie, but once again, it's a lot of character development to put into a 2-hour film. But some of these characters were like plot movers a little bit, I don't mean that in a negative connotation. You had Hawk Girl and the Green Lantern who were super disinterested in terms of saving Superman, but kind of saw when the occasion arose and that Metropolis was in serious trouble. Superman and Mr. Terrific were kind of dealing with the situation over there, and they kind of filled in some of the holes and the help that Superman needed on the other side of the world when he couldn't address them, which you got to see some of Guy Gardner's glaring personality traits when he had his ring form like almost fists that were knocking the tanks.
They were not just fists, but they were like middle fingers and, bitch slaps, and it was hilarious.
Yeah, they did his character so amazingly, and I think James, once again, he has shown that he is able to capture that comic book theme and that tone into his films a lot better than certain other directors have done in the past.
Yeah, for me, I think the character that probably suffered from the least character development, and you can make the argument, was Hawk Girl. I feel like they could have expounded on her background just a little more, but I mean, she had some cool scenes, the whole war and side plot with Bravia and Lex Luthor's motivations that were definitely deeper than just them selling arms to that country. James Gunn has this way of kind of punch you in the face with real world politics, and that might be a turnoff to some people when they watch this movie. Hey, he's saying what he got to say, and he's saying it with his chest, agree or disagree. But for better or for worse, I think, it doesn't harm the plot. I think
it flows well with the plot.
And I think it gives Superman a little more depth in terms of his, his fondness for humans and humanity in general.
Yeah, it also made Lex look like a complete badass, right?
Yes.
And I mean, the dude shoots a dude on film who I think was Superman's connect to Bravia. They never really elaborated, which is one of the points that I did not like too much in the film. Maybe upon second rewatch, I will catch something that I missed. But honestly, they made Lex, when he killed that guy, look badass. He meant business, and his ability to manipulate situations because he's so intellectually superior to everybody else was on full display in this film. Basically giving Superman two choices: either figure out the war in Bravia or save Metropolis.
Yep.
And they made such a limited character who's just rich like Batman, low key, and brilliant, such an impeding factor on Superman.
A very formidable force, for sure.
Yes.
And that who can stand toe to toe with Superman.
And then on top of that, let's get into it. The Hammer of Bravia, that was also a big part of this movie, because it turns out that the Hammer of Bravia
was Ultraman,
who is formulated from Superman's DNA, are basically a twin once he gets unmasked in the movie. And they have an all-out action war, and they start beating each other up. And crazy enough, like the Zack Snyder films, a lot of buildings falling over, but they did it right. Superman saving a lot of people.
Shit, he was even saving buildings.
And saving, he saved a squirrel in one scene. And I said, damn, but dude, that's the Superman character.
That's the Superman people wanted initially with the Zack Snyder films.
Agreed. And then now this is a good transition, because now we can get more into, I guess, what people are expecting, especially people who are not familiar with the Superman lore. If you watch this film, you're going to see, unlike the Man of Steel, that this Superman is a bit naive, a bit goofy. Historically, that's what the character is.
Yeah, the character is not a hard ass. The character is more of a goody two shoes. The character is very
Boy Scoutish.
Yeah, I would say Boy Scoutish. The opposite of the aforementioned, Omni-Man. The invincible portrayal of the Superman character, or even the Homelander boys version. Where the Homelander boys version is a complete asshole compared to what this Superman is. Complete opposite, but it's a very good contrast. It's the Superman, again, people have been wanting to see.
Agreed. And I feel like it's so important, because to really emphasize that, because for people who've seen the stoic Henry Cavill version of Superman, which we love, by the way, like I said, I think we're in the minority of people who love that movie, because we are such fans of the Injustice storyline.
Or even the veteran version from the the 1970s films. We count the first two because those two are decent. The Christopher Reeves ones we're talking about, the 3 and 4, a bit ass.
Richard Pryor and a guy that never made up before.
A guy that was invented as a villain in the 4th movie and eventually became a character, actually. But this movie, people didn't really fuck with Superman that heavy.
Yes. And here's the other thing too, to my brother's point on the spoiler-free chat, there was also the way they started it, they kind of did it a lot like the Batman movie from Matt Reeves, where you kind of get the year 1 Batman, which is the comic strip, but he's kind of in year 2, year 3.
Yeah, it's like Batman, how Batman year 1, Batman Origins. Superman kind of felt like that. It was like a Superman Origins movie, but without the, hey, I just landed on Earth, and, they skipped all that shit. It's more like Superman first couple years on the job.
This movie starts in year 3 of his development, and it starts like the trailer with him getting his ass whooped. I think it's a situation where it's just such a heartwarming feel to see Superman in this light, and to see him done so properly and so true to the comic. This movie really captures a lot of that. And listen, it's nothing against the Man of Steel movie. It's still one of my favorite superhero movies personally. But if you are going to build something with the Injustice storyline, I definitely understand the idea of starting him off good and then turning him bad. On top of that, this is a situation where in the Man of Steel film, very stoic. Him in this movie, very goofy. He has a line with Lex when he catches Lex where he's like, yeah, that's the most human element of me. One step at a time, one foot in front of the other. It sounds like Michael Chandler when he talks, see you at the top. I laced up my bootstraps, went in the mat, did what I had to do. It's just corny, crazy shit.
Yeah, it sounded like John Cena cutting a promo.
And John Cena before this heel run, when people hated him.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it was just so good and almost cringe, but that's the character. That is the character. And for people who are going in there expecting like a serious Superman like Cavill, who are not familiar with the lore, be aware that like that's not what you're getting. You're getting a version of this guy that is very true to the comic, very goofy, very naive, and almost like a family man. And you kind of get those elements with his dog and his mom and his dad, which I thought were fitted in very well in this movie.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things I want to add to that. Like in terms of like his vulnerability, they almost made him a little too vulnerable. There's a part of the movie where he's in, Lex's interdimensional pocket where he's drowning in like this sea of like, interdimensional goo. It looks like a river that's leading up to a black hole.
Right.
And I'm like, he's Superman at the end of the day. You can't just fly out of that. Like he ain't getting sucked in there. Like that one kind of threw me off a little bit. In terms of the parents, listen, Mama Kent and Daddy Kent, this is the most country I've ever seen the parents in my life. Like these guys, they're from Kansas. Man, they are definitely from Kansas in this one. Like hella country. And it might throw some people off initially because, they're used to the more clean cut, proper English speaking parents for Clark Kent. A couple of other things, like they do that with a couple of characters in this movie where, like Jimmy Olsen, for instance, generally he's known as like a nerd or a little pushover. In this movie, my man's a playboy.
He's a Chad, man.
My man's he's a giga. And even Otis, Lex Luthor's henchman, he's just competent,
yes.
in the Christopher Reeves movies, he's a bit of a goof.
Yes.
He's a bit of a clown. In this one, he's actually like a competent henchman. It's those little twists, even now diving deeper into the story, like, I don't know if people are going to really like what they did with like his parents, where they made Jor-El, come off a little, a little evil. And that it's a good change, unexpected change, but a change that I was like, oh, wow, I was generally and pleasantly surprised about.
Jor-El is actually played by Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Surprise. And then he had a very limited scene basically where they were relaying a message to Clark when he landed, but it's a situation where they're able to decrypt the damaged footage that essentially got damaged when Clark landed there, and they were able to decipher that the message was to essentially be a king to these people,
be a tyrant, be Omni-Man.
Yeah.
Style villain almost, Yeah,
and that showed a lot of like depth to Superman, the conflict within Superman, the he didn't know who he wanted to be, like which direction he wanted to go, essentially just trying to figure himself out as this story goes along. And with the help of his earthly parents, the parents from Kansas, he's able to kind of flush out what it is.
Yeah, and it gives his parents more credence in terms of like, or more impact in terms of like the way he was raised and his morals and his values.
Correct. And on top of that too, we got another cameo. We got another cameo from the great Peacemaker.
John Cena.
On screen.
Speaking of John.
Which is hilarious because it's a situation in the movie where Superman's audio from his parents gets leaked. Essentially, the world hates him.
Yeah, he's getting just fucking dunked on left and right by all the news media outlets and, John Cena or Peacemaker, I love this cameo. It was brief, but, it hit the spot. It did its job. Basically, taking a little dig at the Man of Steel.
Super contradictory, too, because he was like, yeah, a guy that thinks he's doing things righteously and nobly, but he's kind of an asshole.
Kind of ironic.
Oh,
Yeah. And then one of the more surprising cameos, I guess it was kind of leaked, but it kind of wasn't because people were trying to figure out her particular role. Supergirl, who pops up right at the end of the movie. Turns out to be the real or official owner of crypto. Funny take on the character in general. She comes in a little twisted, a little, off the Henny or whatever she's
that drinking,
popping and locking. You know what I'm saying? Superman, he mentions, oh yeah, well, she don't hang out over here because, with the yellow sun, she can't really get drunk.
Yeah.
So
she hangs out where the red sun's at.
Where she could get properly twisted,
properly banged up.
And so that's going to be a hilarious take whenever James Gunn decides to dig into her story.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know already, the film is already in production. Like, I guess James and Warner Brothers had so much confidence in this film, and I think rightfully so, because I thoroughly enjoyed this film despite some of its flaws. Supergirl, the new one's going to be played by Millie Alec, and if you are not familiar with Millie Alec, not Alec, Alcock rather. I'll click. Sorry, I don't want to mispronounce it because it sounds a little wrong too.
You don't want to, butcher the name. I got you.
But if you're not familiar with her, she's in the first season of House of the Dragon.
Yep, which is the Game of Thrones prequel.
And now she's a little older. She fits the role physically. And as my brother mentioned, the rightful owner of crypto. Brief cameo. It's not even an end credit scene. The end credit scenes essentially are Superman sitting in front of the world with crypto.
Yeah, which is, a good summarization of like what this film pretty much is. It's like Superman and crypto versus the world. I thought it was a cute end credit that they had there.
Yes, and Mr. Terrific and Superman debating on how to fix a building that was moved when the black hole was tearing through Metropolis and essentially splitting Metropolis in half.
Yeah, that's the second end credit, and I think that kind of leads more credence to like just the. I feel like it was an unnecessary stinger, but at the same time, kind of just adds more like of
emphasis,
more depth to the Superman character because he's corny. He's
a goof.
He's a big corny goof. I like the goof
essentially.
Yeah. But he's a lovable guy. He's an innocent guy.
Yeah, and last but not least, I think we need to give some more credence and more attention to Crypto.
Let's put respect on Crypto's name. He's the star of this movie.
He's the real MVP.
He really is.
And if you see Kevin Durant crying, like that's how we felt when we were watching the film. He had such an impact in this movie.
I mean, he bailed out Superman several times in this movie.
Yeah.
Because Superman, like I said, if you're not used to my man getting washed, he gets washed in this movie.
Yes.
He gets washed in the beginning. He gets washed in the middle. He even gets sort of washed at the end. But Crypto there every time to bail the man out.
Yeah, and he's a dog that's like super unruly a bit,
Yeah, he's definitely annoying. He's reckless.
He's a dog that's not trained.
He's a fucking dog, man.
So he's essentially integral in saving Superman from falling into the black hole, defending some of the bots that were in Superman's ship before they eventually got overtaken.
Brought him to get healed after he got smoked by the hammer of Bravia, which turned out to be Ultraman.
Helped him at the end when Superman was battling Ultraman.
Yep.
As well too, and essentially was working some of the cameras that Lex was using to control Ultraman.
And that essentially ended up giving Superman the upper hand, where he ended up washing Ultraman at the end of the movie.
100%. And once again, Crypto was probably the biggest, outside of Mr. Terrific, like one of the bigger points of this plot and this story and helping and the assistance of Superman.
Oh, he was the MVP for sure.
Yeah.
And probably my favorite character.
Yeah, he was so much more involved in this movie than I thought he was going to be. But I should have just listened to James because James was very adamant that Crypto was going to be heavily involved in this movie. And he was. And he was huge and integral in Superman succeeding in this movie.
And it didn't feel annoying. It didn't feel overbearing.
Or forced, which is very important.
Just the right amount of annoying and clutch from Crypto.
Yes, 100%.
Outside of that, I do want to go see this movie a second time because there's definitely Easter eggs I did miss. There's definitely some things and details that I definitely overlooked because, and again, I'm here just trying to enjoy the new Superman experience. And I think, for the most part, I think James Gunn knocks this one out the park. I think it's a very good first step into the new DCU.
Yeah, I agree. I think he delivered. I think the casting was good. I think the characters, Superman, I think overacted a little bit. What's his name again?
David Cornsweet, I think, or Cornsweet.
I thought he was a little bit of overacting, but I feel like Superman is such a difficult character to nail down because he's so excessively goody two shoes. It's almost cringe, but it's comic book accurate. So I'm not going to be too hard on him.
He's a good Superman.
The other notes for characters in this thing, the engineer, who is part of the Authority, she's in this movie. She is actually a pretty integral part in helping Lex to execute his plans. The way they did it was pretty badass.
Superman ended up going into the sky, giving her the Charizard Classic, that seismic toss, straight right back down, just took her out KO.
And by the way, it's crazy because some of these scenes you see with Superman, you would think he killed them. He killed nobody in this movie.
No.
And there was like the kaiju in the movie, for fuck's sakes. No. He didn't want to kill him.
No, he didn't want to kill that big Bowser ass looking dinosaur dragon, whatever that thing was. It looked like an ugly what's that thing from Lilo and Stitch? It's called Stitch, right?
Yes.
Looked like just an ugly ass Stitch. He was disappointed when He ended up blowing up his guts from the inside. Like, did you have to kill him? We couldn't just take him to another planet to be, studied or something like that. And Guy Gardner ended up looking at him like, come on, man.
Yeah, Mr. Terrific as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they were like, oh, really? Really,
on,
bro?
man.
So it was just a well executed film. But overall, like, once again, I give this movie like an 8.5 or 9 out of 10.
Definitely worth every buck. Definitely worth an IMAX visit. Definitely worth maybe 2 IMAX visits. You should definitely go to the theaters and watch this movie, in my opinion.
Yep, brilliantly done by James Gunn. I have faith in this Gunn universe, and I cannot wait for the rest to come, especially with the Supergirl movie, which is already in production, because the studio had that much confidence in this film, and rightfully so.
Not only that, but like even like his side projects like Creature Commandos and even like the new Peacemaker season 2 that's coming out. This Superman movie definitely got me a little more hyped to see what James Gunn's got cooking.
100%. And with that said, for the audience that's observing this video, please drop comments in the chat for things that we didn't discuss in this episode.
Or anything that we might have missed.
Yes, and for things that you want to discuss, and we will respond as promptly as possible. We are definitely looking to get some more insight from you guys for things that we might have missed and things that interest you about the film and what some of your thoughts and outlooks for the future of the DCU are in your eyes.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to like carrying on this conversation because like, again, this movie's really got me hyped for the future.
Worth all the money and worth all your time. And with that said, and to wrap up this episode 2 of the spoiler-filled chat of the new Superman movie that's now in theaters, you already know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
If you enjoyed this spoiler-filled talk, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you already know.
Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for, tuning in and checking us out. And if you like more of this or any of this or some of this, let us know in the bottom. Let us know in the feedback. Tune in for the next episode where I don't know what movie we're going to be watching next, but, we're going to break it down with spoilers, with non-spoilers. And, I hope this is a thing that going forward.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed myself. I really enjoy film and shows and things of that nature. We hope the audience, and we're assuming so that the audience that's tuning into this enjoys the same kind of things. But until then, love you guys. Holla at you guys. Tune in. We'll keep you posted. Holla at you later. Love ya.